Hi everybody, Bracken Clockworks here with another video coming at you. So today I want to talk about setting up a clock, specifically to new collectors, or even if you're not really a collector, just somebody who appreciates old clocks and you want to have one of your own. So right here, you've seen this one before, but we're going to pretend you haven't, okay? So this one here is an old Waterbury, the Huntley model. So we're going to pretend that it came out of the box. You know, it's been shipped or somebody gave it to you or whatever. Now, if they were doing it the right way, they would separate the pendulum from the movement and obviously the key. You want to make sure there's nothing bouncing around inside of the case. So first thing you want to do is you want to inspect, make sure, hey, everything's there, everything's looking okay, nothing's broke, at least not from, you know, the overall outside appearance, you know, standpoint here. The next thing you want to do is you have to attach the pendulum. So to do that, there is a hole at the top of the pendulum here, and it's going to go on a hook that hangs down from the movement. Now, a lot of times you cannot see it, especially with the dial face in place, but if you reach up very carefully, it should be somewhere in the center here. What I like to do is spread two fingers apart, feel up there, and you can feel where there's a little rod that comes down, and it's got a hook, and it should be facing forward, hopefully. So anyway, what you want to do then is you want to get this up in there. There we go. Kind of let it hang right there. All right. So you're on your way. You've got the pendulum on. The next step is to wind it. You want to make sure it's going to wind. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with the strike train, which is on the left-hand side of these clocks. Okay. Now, some of them wind one way or the other. Basically, what you do is you test it. Just kind of give it a quick little turn one way. If there is a very hard resistance, then that's the wrong direction. So if you test it the other way, you'll notice it actually spins that way. So that's the direction you want to wind. So when you wind a clock, you want to wind it up all the way. Now, I've had people say, oh, you only wind it like 6 turns or something like that. Or no. Don't listen to that. What you want to listen to is what I'm saying, and that is you wind it all the way. Keep going. Keep going. Oh, there we go. And then it'll just kind of stop. Don't go past that. Don't put a drill on it or something like that. Just use your hand. Now you know it's tight. So that's wound up all the way. You cannot overwind a clock. So now the other side, we're going to do the same thing. Oh, that one doesn't wind that way. So we actually have to wind the opposite direction in the counterclockwise. So we're going to wind it up. I put my finger in to just hold it on because it gets annoying. It bounces around. It's winding. Oh, okay, so it's all the way, as far as it'll go. Alright, so now, the next step is we want to make sure that it's going to run. Well, to do that, what you're going to do is you're going to get a hold of the pendulum here. You're going to move it to the side, about halfway, and then let it go. Alright, so it's got a very positive tick. Sounds pretty good. But I am detecting that it's slightly out of beat. Now, I have an earlier video on how to properly set up the beat, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do it again. So what we got to do is we have to take the hands off in the dial face to get at to where we can adjust that. Okay? Alright, so we have the face disassembled. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and try to start it up again. Okay, so what we're going to do here, you want to observe the way it's ticking. So what I'm detecting right now is a tick-tock, 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 tick-tock. It's not even, okay? You want it to be nice and tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Well, it's not doing that. It's a little off. Now, like this, it would probably run just fine. But ideally, you'd want it to be nice and even. It promotes less wear. It's better for the clock, and it keeps the timekeeping going the way it should. So what we're going to do now is we're also going to take this off. So now we can see what's going on here. So right here, you have your escape wheel. Here you have your verge. This wire coming down here, this brass wire that connects to the suspension spring and pendulum leader, is called the crutch. This is the part we need to be paying attention to at this point in time. So if you observe what's going on here, if you watch, based on this relationship here, the left side is actually hitting longer on the escape wheel than the right side. So we want to even that up. What we need to do is make this side slightly shallower and this side slightly deeper, which it will do when you bend the crutch. We need to bend the bottom part. You want it to move that way just a little bit, so that way it lifts the right side up into the escape wheel just a tiny bit more. Now this is a trial and error kind of a thing here. Now I know based on this that it needs to go that direction, but you can test either way to see how it works in relation to each other, okay? Stop the pendulum. And then I'm going to grab a hold here. I'm going to use my thumb and these two fingers like this, and I'm going to push like this. So grab a hold of the top, the bottom, then my thumb goes in the middle, and then just give it a squeeze and bend that over just a little bit. Now we'll test it. Oop, too far. Now it's the opposite direction and worse. So same thing, we're going to stop it. But this time we only need two fingers. Grab a hold of the bottom in the center, give it just a slight bend, test it again. It's a little better, but we're going to keep going. Let's try it again. Very close now. Do it again. It doesn't take much. Okay, we're not quite there. A little more. Okay, that sounds pretty even to me. What do you all think? Alright, so now we've got it set in beat. And we're assuming here that the clock is sitting where it's going to always be sitting. That's generally what you want to do, is you want to set the beat to wherever you're going to keep the clock. It is not necessary to get your clock perfectly level. A lot of people always ask that, well, the clock has to be level. The clock has to be level. The clock has to be level. Not necessarily. I could put this clock at probably a 15-degree angle, set the beat, and it would run just fine. It would look dumb, but it would run just fine. The point is to set the beat. Now, generally when somebody works on one of these, they will set it level and they will set the beat based on it being level, and they'll tell the customer, you know, try to keep it level if you can, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It all depends on where you're going to be keeping the clock. Sometimes you will have to make adjustments as necessary. The next thing I want to show you, we know that before this the clock was set at 10 o'clock, correct? Well, let's go ahead and put the hand on real quick and see what happens with the chime or the strike. So go to the half hour. Okay, so it hit the half hour. That's good. Now we should be getting up to 11 o'clock. Nope, not 11 o'clock. So there's two ways to fix this. One is you can move the hour hand. But what happens if your hand is on the half hour side and it strikes the hour? Now what do you do? Now you can move the hands. That would be an easy way to fix that. Well, I say easy relatively. The actual easiest way to do this is to use the count lever, because your count lever is also your shutoff. Let me show you a little closer on how that works. Alright, so your count lever is this guy right here. Now you'll notice this wheel on the front has some longer indents in the teeth. Right now it's in one of the longer indents. That signifies a shutoff. Now it's set for 11:30. So what we want to do is we want to get it back up to the hour. So if we put it to the hour right now, well, it just did the half hour. So now what we got to do is get this back around in the hour. Now in this state it's easy to adjust because the hand you know, I could easily just move the hand around like you saw me do before. But let's say you can't do that. All right, let's say that the dial face is on and you really don't want to go through all that trouble of moving hands around, because it can be tedious unless it has one of the screw-on types, hand nut they call it. This one is a little bit more tedious because little parts can get lost due to the fact that it has a tapered pin setup. So what we're going to do now is we're going to advance this manually. So now we know that this is supposed to be the hour, and it just did the half hour. So now what we can do is we can advance it manually by tripping the count lever. So what we're going to do is we're just going to give it a push up. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so now we're at 4 o'clock. The hand is now at the top of the hour, so we're set now for the hour. But if you wanted to keep going, you can. You could just keep tripping that lever, but instead you can just move the hour hand to the appropriate hour that it's striking and then just advance it manually with the hands. That's probably your easiest option as far as correcting the strike on one of these old American clocks. Alright, so there you go. So we'll go ahead and get the dial face back on, and then we'll make sure it's going to keep going. Okay, so we've got it back together. Let's double check and make sure everything's okay. The hand got bent out just a little bit. That's better. It should be 5. 1, 2. All right, we're looking good. So now we're all set. And now we're ready for many years of having this clock available and ready. And if you trust it to tell time, see if you can get it dialed in. Speaking of, I know this is kind of a basic thing, but to adjust the time, or at least the timekeeping ability of a clock. So say you're running 5 minutes slow in a week. It's not terrible for these clocks to be that far off, but if you want it to be closer, what you can do is adjust on the bottom here, the bottom of the pendulum, there's a nut, and it's called the rating nut. So what you want to do is you give it a turn to the right to speed it up. So if you're tightening up like this, it's going to be shortening the pendulum, which makes it swing faster. And then if it's longer, it swings slower. The pendulum is your regulation part of a clock. That's what keeps it in time. So then you turn it to the right to go up, turn it to the left to go down. Almost all pendulum style clocks work this way. Start it up again. And we're done. If you have any questions, get a hold of me. You can comment below. You could also maybe even subscribe if you're really feeling up to it. Let me know what you think. Take care. Bye now.